I believe we were ready, commissioners.
All right.
Okay.
Great. Good morning. It's 9:06 on October 13th, and we are here for our preliminary budget hearing, opening our preliminary budget for inspection by the public. We've done a lot of work up through this point in the last couple of years. And I think this might be the first budget we are presenting that might not be last year's budget. Is that correct?
I don't think we, yeah.
This will be a great, I mean, I know Tim, our manager, and other staff have great information to present to us. But we are looking forward to the process of a lot of different proposals for a true 2024 projection. And I'll let you get started, Tim. Any other comments from the board?
No.
All right.
Thank you, commissioners. Yeah, I want to thank the entire Lake County team, especially the finance office and Stephanie McBride and Sarah Edwards and Liz Miller, who are not in the finance office, but who have helped me tremendously with the budget and with messaging and putting everything together for the team. So the initial budget message that was sent out to staff was to hold budgets flat to 2023. For the most part, most departments did do that. There is an increase for, some have just inflationary increases like fuel costs, things like that, that are anticipated to go up, but for the most part, most budgets are held fairly flat to 2023. So just a quick overview. We'll focus a lot today on our general fund, which is made up of property and sales taxes. Essentially, property taxes are set by the mill levy. Current mill levy is maxed out at 41.999, with an estimated revenue to Lake County at 16.5 million. And, Lake County is not alone. Property taxes aren't rising in Colorado because the statewide assessment rate is rising, or because local governments like our own are increasing their mills. They're going up because home values have risen by a median of 40% statewide since 2021, and I believe 78% on average in Lake County. So the increase in your home valuation ties to your assessed value, ties to your property tax. So a mill, you can think of a mill as just a dollar payment on every $1,000 of assessed value. There is a property tax calculator on Lake County Assessor's website if you would like to do that. There's also various ones statewide, but it's all the same formula of how to determine your property taxes. Estimated 2024 revenues for Lake County is 34.5 million. A bulk of that is made up by property taxes, so that's from businesses and residences. We're projecting about $5 million in 2024 sales taxes. The mine, we have broken out the Climax mine, will bring in a little over 5.2 million, and then we have our other sources So our federal, state grants, licenses, fees, charges for services, all of that brings in another portion. But that is where the revenues come from for Lake County government. Sales tax, the Lake County sales tax is 4%. We're estimating sales tax revenue at $5 million. 2022, we're projecting to bring in $7.8 million total. The city of Leadville does not collect a sales tax, but Lake County shares a portion of the sales tax with the city via an IGA. So this is just prior year comparison of looking at our sales tax. You know, knowing that Lake County is impacted by outside forces, regional, state, and national and international economic impacts, you know, we're kind of projecting similar to what we're going to bring in this year. It's a little harder to project that, but from our tourism director, we understand that you know, visitation is lower this year and is projected to be a little bit lower next year. So that's why we're conservatively estimating the sales tax revenues. So part of this draft budget is so looking at the general fund and what brings in funding. So the top lines break everything out for you to see. So there is an increase in property tax projections based on current mill levies, and this is all just the draft budget. Then shows our total operating revenues for the general fund, and then we're looking at an operating net for 2024 of 7.4 million. If you have any questions, just let me know if you want me to stay on the slide longer.
Is the property tax still is the majority of that residential over commercial, so it's still?
Yeah,
Yeah,
only a small, very small percentage is commercial.
Yeah.
Is it 7 or no?
It's less than that, I think it's like,
4.6
yeah, I
maybe?
was gonna say 5, about 5, something like
Okay.
that. The anticipated revenue, it's implied that that would be us collecting all 41.999 mils,
yes, this is based on
On
status quo on that.
which that decision won't be final until December, if I'm understanding correctly.
Correct, yep. So good segue, Commissioner. So, the commissioners control the mill levy and how to set the mill levy for local property taxes for Lake County government. We do not control the mill levy for all the other taxing districts, which includes Parkville Water, Leadville Sanitation, the school district, the city of Leadville, all the various districts, other districts as well. So, if the commissioners, if you so choose to reduce the mills to a mid-level, let's say, I think that was this what they had previously
In 21.
in 21. So this is the 2021 mill levy rate. So you can see the difference there in projections and revenue. So that would be about 1.5 million in difference. It's important, I know the commissioners know this, but it's important for the public and for everyone else to know that, you know, inherently property taxes are regressive. Because if two individuals in the same tax jurisdiction live in properties with the same values, they pay the same amount of property tax regardless of their incomes. So, you know, one could go a little farther and make the assumption that lower income folks, you know, have lower valued properties, so it's not like fully regressive. But if you are, if you have a higher income and your property taxes go down, and you have a lower income and or property taxes go up, and lower income and your property taxes go up or down, it impacts the lower income person the most. So just a consideration when considering mill levies. Another option is a lower mill levy. I believe this was farther from, this is way back.
Yeah, this one is actually not one that you've had before, like in recent history, it's just 36 mils.
It's like in between the lowest and.
Because the lowest before that was at 32 point something. So.
Yeah. So this would be a difference of the 2.3 million. reduction in revenues for Lake County government, reduction in property taxes for residents and folks who own properties here. Another option for the commissioners to consider is some kind of tax rebate program. These can be targeted. So there are other counties who have done this and have been successful. They are complex problems, but it would address the immediate needs of vulnerable community members and prevent undue hardship caused by potential increases in property taxes as a result of the increase in property valuations. So we could target it to low-income seniors. Generally, our older adult population lives on a fixed income. So when taxes go up, other things in their budgets have to change. So we could focus on a low-income senior tax relief program. This would most definitely need to be a joint effort with other taxing districts, primarily the school district and the hospital. But it could be a sole use or sole thing on the county as well. Other counties have explored, sorry.
Well, sorry, can you say more about that? Cause in my head, I thought that would be just a county operation and we wouldn't, I mean, other taxing entities could join if they wanted, but that we wouldn't impose that. We're not able to impose that
Right.
on other
Yeah.
taxing entities.
We're not able to impose that. However, if you really want to make a difference for people on fixed incomes, partnering with other taxing districts would make the difference. Or if the county collect revenues and then do a rebate, is the county the only taxing entity funding it? Which we can be, that's totally fine. However, partnering with other taxing districts would make more of a difference for targeted populations in our community.
Cause I guess it depends which taxing districts you live in, but we're like half or not even half of the total tax bill, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it would make a difference doing it alone. Collaboration would make an even bigger difference. Other ways we could do this is determine a federal poverty level threshold to issue rebates to. So at 500% of FPL for a household of 4, that's $150,000. 100% for the same size household is $30,000. Those are annual wages set by the federal government. So you could target tax relief based on household size and federal poverty level. The program would be complex, it would have benefits. I think that the challenge would be, if you're a property owner, obviously this would benefit you. If you are a renter, this would not benefit you.
Right.
Assuming, good intentions of landlords, perhaps they would hold rent steady or lower your rent, but we can't control that. So there are other options that the commissioners could consider. There is this data that we have from the various elected offices, from clerk and recorder, treasurer, and the assessor's office to be able to gather this data and do that. It would be an administrative lift. It would, just in terms of processing some kind of rebate, communicating out a rebate. But there are these options. And then as we learned from Douglas County, you sitting as CBOE could decide to lower the entire valuation by a certain percentage.
I've also communicated with a lot of other colleagues that have chosen to lower their mill levies to only collect a 20% increase in property tax.
Sure.
So you take the total revenue and then calculate a 20% increase and then calculate your lowering your mills to collect that value more.
Yeah.
I have concerns about capturing 41.999 mills. I think residential is the bulk of our assessment according to our assessor's office, and I think that the residential people will carry the burden of the impact of the increase of a 68% overall value to their properties, and that will be a hard no from me.
Two other thoughts just on here. One is, to your point, Tim, on renters. I mean, we can also address that. I mean, like during COVID, we had the unmet needs
Mhm.
committee, and we've provided, direct rental assistance. So we can help balance that out by, I mean, we have some existing mechanisms through nonprofits, through DHS, I don't know if unmet needs committee is actually still
I think they are.
running, but,
Yeah.
we could contribute more than we otherwise would have out of our general fund to target, parts of our community that wouldn't be helped by property tax rebate.
Yeah, 100%, and, should you choose, you could do something similar, that you did, with SNAP beneficiaries when the public health emergency ended. You, provided everyone in Lake County on SNAP, well, the total number was $75,000. We can target those households that we know that are on any of our public assistance programs with, some kind of monetary help, or relief. So there are various things we can do for folks who are, low income or on fixed income, or both. There's just 23 sales tax data, just looking at the breakdown between the city and the county on what is collected and then what is given to the city. And as we have, in our budget message, that has gone out, and to address the BOCC priorities for 2024, are the asset management plan, and actually creating one of those, because it's apparent to everyone in our community. A lot of the county's assets, especially the larger ones, suffer from decades of deferred maintenance, which our annual general fund can't keep up with, and also sometimes throwing good money after bad. So we are going to work with all of our departments on plans to maintain and or replace and or dispose of a lot of our, looking through the county's assets, buildings, parks, roads and bridges, stormwater systems, machinery, equipment and technology systems. That is, which leads into our second one, focusing on community justice. So the commissioners have set community justice as a priority as well. So we know that we have challenges with our justice system locally. So while we do have a grant-funded program right now focused on community justice reform, there are larger things out of that for the things that Angela and Gloria are working on. So whether that's language justice, pretrial, post-release programs, things like that to help folks, and also a lot of developing prevention programs. There is the, giant building in the room, the Community Justice Center, which is a consideration as well for the commissioners, which is a way to impact that, or to also address our asset management plan. Economic development, we cannot save our way to prosperity. So that is why we have focused on breaking out the actual mine revenue so we can see what Climax Mine provides to this community as a taxpayer. But it also shows other taxpayers in the community, the amount of services that they're getting for their residential and commercial property taxes. But at some point, the mine will close, and that will be a very large blow to the county's budget. Which we've acknowledged, we're still suffering, still dealing with the consequences of the last time the mine closed in this community. Deferred maintenance, lack of economic community justice issues, housing issues, all kinds of things have tied up, since the last, economic shock of the mine closing, so focusing on economic development, well, will definitely help the county, you know, in future years, prevent us from cutting programs and services or reductions of staff or for having to furlough staff. But we'll also support our existing businesses and also be able to grow new industries and attract new businesses to Lake County. Part of the capital improvement work session next week, we'll be discussing infrastructure development at our airport and potential incentives for our airport business park, other ways to incentivize development in our community. Part of that with the economic development where the county really has been the lead on is workforce housing and childcare. Those go in tandem with economic development. You know, can't start a business, like you can't start a business with your kids at your shop, but having those other additional supports and having childcare is essential to economic development. Housing, obviously our community is in a housing crisis, which the board agrees with. So we will continue to work on that to build affordable housing for our community and our workforce and to maintain affordable housing in our community, such as the 619 Elm project that we're doing right now. And also working to expand and leverage the various funding pools, state and federal dollars, private dollars, other partnerships that we can focus on within our community, because the largest asset that the county has is land. None of the surrounding communities have any land. Summit County has to build on US Forest Service land. We are not in that position, however, we don't have the funding to build new units, to build our way out of it. And the final, there are no particular order, but the final board priority is on organizational development, continuing to turn Lake County government into a professional organization that better meets the needs of our community, improving service levels to our community, stewardship of tax dollars. We've worked really, really hard the past 2 years on financial management and organizational development, and we will continue to work hard on that so that Lake County is an attractive employer, but also that we are a responsive and transparent government. And with that, to meet your priorities, we'll go over roll-ups of our various sections of government. So general government includes majority of all of the elected offices, and then the manager, attorney, finance, human resources, and IT, the departments that service and support all of the elected offices and their various functions. So you will see that there is an increase in the total general government over 23 projections. A lot of those are fairly modest. There have been increases in my office due to staffing, which is meeting the needs of the commissioners, such as having a communications director in there. And then the DA's office had a small increase in her request. Finance, we will see an increase as well, and that is due to personnel to again meet the organizational development needs of the commissioners. If you have any questions on these increases, or let me know. When we do meet in the week of October 23rd, that will be when we take a deeper dive into each department's budget and their long-range plans. Public Works, it's important to note that there are various funds that make up Lake County government. So road and bridge, landfill, and airport are all different funds. So the landfill and airport are revenue funds. Those are generally not subsidized by the general fund or by tax dollars. The people who utilize the landfill and the airport services pay for those. Maintenance is subsidized fully by the general fund. And then road and bridge has various funding mechanisms, and then some subsidy from the general fund. And when we give general fund dollars to road and bridge, you cannot take them back. Other funds you can.
Can you say briefly why some of those are going down?
Yes, so for landfill projections, I believe the landfill, you approved the purchase of the new trash compactor, and I believe the air burner was also out of the 23 budget. The road and bridge budget, we are not going to in 2024, we're not going to focus on paved roads. We will focus on our other roads, so the dirt roads. So what we're going to do is every other year, 1 year focus on our paved roads, 1 year focus on other county roads. The dirt roads are cheaper to deal with. The maintenance budget this year has some of the rec replacement funds have been used, maintenance was able to address, and then going into the 24 budget, they have not been added in. Also keep in mind, the budgets here being presented today are just the operational budgets. So we have not heard the capital improvement projects, we have not heard, and we have not heard the supplemental budget requests from departments. What is included here in the budgets you'll see, and we'll get to that slide, are FTE requests, since that generally is our largest expense. But those are some of the various reasons why those are going down.
Gotcha, okay.
Public health total budget, again, various funds that go into this. The largest one, Department of Human Services. A majority of that is funded by state and federal dollars to provide our public assistance programs. It also covers a lot of the FTE costs. The blood lead program is funded by the ASARCO Trust. And then the Public Health Fund, we are working on new funding mechanisms for public health. And larger grant dollars from the state to make up the services that we provide at public health. But that is also subsidized by the general fund. Seniors is a partnership with the COG, but there's also some general fund dollars in there. And then veterans is general fund. And then next week, we will have a work session with Harry Beck from Veteran Services, so we can fully understand his programming and then needs that veterans in our community need. So I anticipate that budget going up a decent amount. I don't know why that pops up like that. Recreation and culture, so the public library and pros are subsidized by the general fund. Bowl is grant funded, CSU extension, a majority, the salary for the CSU extension director is, a majority of that is paid for by CSU. And then there are some programmatic requests from the CSU extension director that will go in there. Tourism is funded by lodging tax dollars.
Can you elaborate on the programming requests that increase that budget by 94,000?
No. I haven't been fully briefed on the full budget request from the CSU extension director, but that is the request as it stands now. So public safety, so I did include the sheriff's budget in the general government lines, but other public safety budgets. The county pays for a majority of fire control in this community at $1.4 million. OEM, you will see an increase in OEM due to one new FTE request, and then some of the larger projects that Claire is working on, just like the EOP that she briefed you on yesterday. Thankfully, a lot of OEM's work is funded by the federal and state government, so a lot of that is grant funded. E911, you will see the increase there is due to increasing for dispatch budgets. as the E911 board has been sat and they're still working through some bylaw changes and budget setting. We don't have the full budget from the E911 board, but those are E911 funds, so not general government funds. Search and rescue, the county does fund search and rescue since it is an extension of the sheriff's office. So that increase for the $61,000 that includes some of their other grants and revenues that they have received this year. That is not a county general fund in there. I believe their request will be similar to last year, so the 25,000. Community planning and development. So this, you will see the various revenues that Ann brings in. You will see starting to have an increase in those charges for services as the cost recovery study is completed, and then projection for her licenses and permits, thinking that our housing market, our building market, if you will stay strong. And then you'll see some of the expenditures, which will include some FTE requests, which we'll get to, and then a slight increase in the professional services over the 23 budget to meet some of the, as we really start to dive in and updating the comp plan, we'll need some more professional services dollars. Housing budget by category. This is the proposed budget from the housing director. Obviously, this will take a lot of negotiation with the city or with other partners in the community, or if the county would like to fund this solely, but this does include 2 FTE requests, so Jackie has support and is not, the sole FTE working on housing. We are projecting the 2024 budget will include that DOLA grant in there so that we can still use that. But you'll see the largest increase is in the personnel requests and the services, which that would be paid for by the DOLA grant, but. And then the last piece, so you have dedicated the remaining ARPA funds to housing. So between human services and local community partners, working on the best way to utilize that funding to address deferred maintenance needs in our community. So we're working through that with various community partners in DHS on, for lack of a better term, what can get the best bang for the buck to help our residents who, whether it's energy efficiency, and that's anything from a new roof to a new water heater to fixing water lines, all kinds of stuff. You also have the LATC funds, which were part of some of the COVID funding. So essentially you have $900,000 in unrestricted funds. The only string, amazingly enough, from the federal government is that you just can't use it for lobbying.
At all, or just federal lobbying?
Any.
Any. Okay,
Good question, though.
thank you.
So majority of the increases that you've seen, so currently we sit at 168 FTE. There are 20 new position requests. So you see all of them there. And there are the pros ones are actually already budgeted for, and so is the deputy director for Claire. Anyway,
So all of these are in all of those individual budgets?
Okay.
These are just what's being added for 2020.
okay. So there's definitely a lot of work to do with department directors on these. And then various things we can do as I continue to work with department directors on their vacancy levels. you know, having more staff isn't necessarily a good thing when we could utilize that funding for something else. Having more staff, you know, sets the expectation that service levels are improved, and when that doesn't happen, then vacancies have a really hard look at, so that we are always open and accessible to the public. But these are the requests that we have right now. Do you have a question?
Tim, the development I think they're all grouped in the departments under the housing.
Mhm.
Is development manager under housing, or is that a CPD
CPD.
position? Okay.
So that is a request from Ian. It's kind of like not nebulous now, but just additional support to focus on the projects that are in her office to build out more capacity.
Great. Okay, thanks.
Mhm. Final things, just for consideration, as we have discussed already, so OSPB, the Governor's Office of State Planning and Budget, and then Ledge Council, who are legislative council who advises the General Assembly, and their economists released their September forecast, so respectively, they have inflation at 4.9 and 5%. So right now, the proposal for a COLA coming from HR is 4%, so having a 3% cost of living increase plus a 1% wellness incentive. These things can change as we go through our supplemental budget process, but that is the proposal now. As you know, our insurance costs will increase 15%, our medical will increase 15%, dental's increasing 8% on top of that. I think the dental's is not $92,000. So I think the proposal is splitting that increase between the employee and the employer. Again, proposing a merit-based pool for $200,000 for 2024. So after this first year, we did pretty good at it. So as we continue to become a more professional professional organization, is again setting expectations with staff of like, you know, the more money you make, expectations are higher, that you perform at a higher level, that things, especially for management, that shed down, that don't need to be done anymore. And so that we are providing higher service levels to our community. So we've worked extensively, worked extensively with some DEIJ consultants, and they actually have developed a certificate program now, which is why we did not move forward with that training this year. So I would like to move forward with that in 2024. And then increasing our learning and development fund to $86,000 to focus on increasing the skills and talents of our existing staff.
Tim, how much of our 2023 merit-based pool did we allocate?
Did we use?
Yeah.
Out of the 200,000 we used,
It was about half.
it was, yeah. So yeah, obviously, we're setting aside the 200% because it is an up to a 3% raise for staff. And not everybody got a 3% raise, not everybody got a full raise. People did receive increases across the board, but it was well done, and I was happy with department directors on
Their discretion.
yeah. There you go. Actually, this is better. I wanted to do, there you go. Go back. All right. The other slides I meant to take out, but I didn't. So this is your total revenue and total expenses for the general fund budget with a net balance of 7.4 million at current mill levy levels, which is, you can change at your discretion. And then the total proposed budget is just under $35 million. And with that, if you have any questions, happy to address any of those. Next week, on the 19th, we will be having a work session on capital improvement projects, which will include presentations from our various vendors on the new Community Justice Center, renovations and expansions of our current facility, infrastructure out to the airport to incentivize the building of an airport business park, and then a RFP proposal for a shared services facility or a true community service building, community center, excuse me, in our community that would include recreation, pools, seniors, youth, library, and then meeting spaces as well. And then the week of October 23rd, we will be hearing from each department director on their budgets. So it's where you all can take a deeper dive into everybody's budgets. And in November, I have not set the dates yet, but in November, we will have our supplemental budget requests before the board. And as a reminder from last year, department heads will submit their supplemental requests to me with their justifications, and then I will present those to the board with my recommendation to approve or deny, or partial approval or denial. And then on or before December 15th, whenever the mills are certified, we will propose the final budget for your adoption. So from today through till at least, or on or before December 15th, our budget is open to the public and for public comment. By the end of today, these slides are line by line budget message, budget review timeline will be on our website. The public can make comments online. There will also be a paper copy for review in the clerk and recorder's office. Any member of the public can always reach out to me, obviously to the commissioners, anybody else, just make sure the feedback gets to me, and we can incorporate those comments into our budget.
Okay.
Great.
Tim, I think in the budget messages, there are a portion in there regarding Proposition HH.
Yes, that is a good point, Commissioner Marcella. So Proposition HH is on the ballot for this November, for the voters to decide. It will have an impact on local government funding, and it will have an impact on taxpayers' tax refunds that they receive from the state. Proposition HH is proposed to impact Lake County government's budget by at least $152,000, which will impact our service levels and our funding and how to do that. And then it also, will reduce taxpayers' refunds that the state is supposed to issue under Tabor. It's very complex. In the language, it says that local governments, including special districts, can receive backfill from the state from this, but that is only if your valuations did not increase by 20%, which everyone in the states did. So anyway, so that is open. There is a great Prop HH calculator that Ledge Council has put out. I think Sarah can post that for everyone online, the calculator I sent you last night. We can post that online and on social media, then we can, folks can see what it means to themselves to either have their property taxes reduced or have their Tabor rate reduced and what that means. Again, it will impact the lowest folks with the lowest incomes the most, and will have no impact on renters.
Okay.
Well, I shouldn't say that. It will have an impact on renters because it does not lower their property tax rate, but it will lower their Tabor tax refund.
And at least in theory, HH includes like rental assistance, right? Like state level rental assistance or something like that.
No, it does not include, rental assistance, but
But they did something for
in
renters.
Representative McCluskey's proposals for this year will be a set aside of $22 million
Mhm.
for rental assistance, which will go like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Across the state, if it's a statewide program.
Do you also have information or, links to information to the state treasurer's office on tax deferment programs on the website or in the budget message? Or can you add that?
Yeah, that's. good.
Yes, we can add
Yeah.
those in there, happy to do that. And, yeah, the various ways folks can do that, because I think they have to do it all by January, right? For
April,
April, okay, for
Cause
tax
it's
deferment.
open from January to April, I
Yeah,
think,
and they
right?
have to apply with the treasurer's office.
The local treasurer's office, yeah. But I think the more that we can push that information out, the better, like before January.
Yeah.
And then like again in January. 'Cause
Yeah.
that program will backfill us, but also provide relief, it just may be for a short period of time.
And we had talked, I mean, I don't know what works and how expensive things get, but I mean, include, like, if we can put a flyer, like, in the tax notices, like, even do our own direct mail, I mean, I really think that's
Something
such a
to-
great program run by the state.
Mhm.
And it backfills, my understanding is it backfills our revenue. So,
For the tax deferral program.
the state tax deferral program,
Yeah, it's a win-win.
If
Yeah,
we have
right.
something to go out, well, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
The assessor's
What, and
office,
or like Parkville perhaps might be willing to send out properties
and
if they do it in their district.
the assessor's office does have, brochures on it.
Okay,
oh, great, do we have thousands of brochures?
And you can just print them, they're
Oh,
online,
okay.
you can just print them.
Okay,
That'd be great.
Maybe Fam can help.
mention that in the paper.
Well,
Public service
and-
announcement.
and Ben, I mean, just for background, so that this is a really great state program that hasn't been really well publicized, but you can defer up to $10,000 of your property taxes.
Mhm.
So it's not forgiveness, you have to pay it eventually, it sort of becomes a lien on your property, but that's 10,000 in aggregate over several years, so, you know, and, so yeah, that's just money you don't have to pay immediately, you can spread that out, and pay it off eventually, like, if and when you ever sell your home, like, you can use your equity to pay that off, not your income, which is a lot of people's problems. And then also, as we were saying, the state backfills the county revenue. So we don't lose our county revenue immediately, and our taxpayers get that 10K assistance. So it's just a really great program.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you hit all the points.
Any other questions on the opening of the budget or the proposed budget?
No, none for me.
Nope, I guess I should have opened it as a public hearing, well, opened it as a hearing, but I will take public comment before we keep this open. I think in the past, we keep this open to a date certain in December. Do we have that date?
But mills are certified on the 10th.
15th, yeah, by the 15th, yeah.
I think the budget needs to be adopted by the 15th and the
It
mill
does,
certification
yeah.
is the 22nd.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
December.
It is the
But
15th, yeah. I think you're right, I think we put that on the calendar already.
Yeah.
I thought we did.
Okay,
But presumably, we need to have a pretty locked-in sense of our mill approach
Before.
by the.
By then.
oh, yes, no,
Yeah.
that is when we'll, yeah,
Yeah.
and I think you said it, but I'll just repeat, between now and December and our final budget, we, as you said, next week, we have a lot of work sessions coming up with other supplemental requests, and we'll continue to have conversations on the budget and the mills and other contributions or considerations. So this is not final, but it's closer to our next year's budget than we've presented in the past, so I appreciate that.
I had two questions on points that have been raised. Tim, you made the point about
like to really, to make the biggest impact on any changes in mills or any other approach, we need to join with other taxing districts. Have you had any preliminary discussions with them, or can we try to have those discussions?
I've been in discussions with the hospital.
Is that your phone? Your phone is ringing. Okay.
Yes. Yes, I have.
No, just,
But on that, so it is, I mean, it is eye-popping, especially for the special districts, right? There's a way for, to address a lot of deferred maintenance needs.
Yeah.
Backlog.
So I'm not sure where the hospital is yet. I think, Commissioner Marcella and I meet with them next week soon.
okay,
Parkville does not levy a property tax. The city of Leadville's properties tax is low in exchange for them receiving the sales tax from the county. I'm not sure where sanitation is at.
yeah,
And then the metro districts are where they're at.
and school district is in such a strange situation because they get the state backfill. I don't know
Yeah, and I haven't,
if they're allowed.
yeah, I
I'm
haven't
not sure how
engaged,
that works
I
either.
haven't engaged there.
I should know that.
So, but, and yeah, JM, yes, there will be, a lot of opportunities for public comment. So on October 23rd, 24th, 26th, and 27th, the commissioners will hear, departments' individual budget presentations. On October 19th, we will have a capital projects work session. And then in November, we will hear, supplemental requests from department directors. By the end of today, our budget will be posted online, so you can make public comment there. Public comment will be open through December. You're welcome. And then if you don't already receive our updates, our weekly updates on the commissioner's weekly planner, and various meeting agendas, if you wanna put your email in the chat, we can add you to that listserv if you would like. Yeah, I guess, Commissioner Mudge, I would suggest perhaps, maybe
The
December
15th?
11th,
Okay,
which is a Monday, December 11th, as the date certain, and then with adoption by the 15th.
So
Or what
the-
did you want the date certain to be?
the adoption.
To adoption?
The adoption date, yeah,
Let's not
Yep.
do it on, yeah.
we'll just do the 15th.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, well, we don't have, I don't think that we have public in the room that wanna make comment, but I wanna open that up explicitly, so, I'll open and invite any public comment, in addition to what we've received in the chat there by a participant online. If there's any public comment in the room or online, you're welcome to unmute yourself and comment now. I'm not seeing anyone needing to make public comment or asking to make public comment. So with that, do we have any other questions for staff at this time? Alright. Thank you so much. So I'll entertain a motion, to leave this public hearing open, until our final adoption of our 2024 budget on December 15th.
So moved,
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
none for me, thank you.
None for me?
All right, thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay.
thanks for all
Thank
hard
you.
work on this.
Yes.
Thank you, yes, thank you, Stephanie.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Paige, thank you, JM. Oh. Do you have that? Here. Okay.
Admin at reaching celebrate.
Alright. I got it, thank you,
Thanks, JM.
and, alright, with that, enjoy your day, everyone.
And